First of all, I'm Robert Fyffe. I'm the Vice President for Research at Wright State University, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you all here to the first, hopefully, annual symposium of the Wright State University and Premier Health Partners Neuroscience Institute. And we'll just have a few brief comments to start the afternoon off. The list you see here, but what I wanted to take just a moment to do is let you know why I'm so pleased and really proud to be here introducing this meeting that you've come to attend. That it's been a long time in the making, really. We've had neuroscience symposia here at the university for many years. In fact, Tim Cope was coming up from Emory to attend them long before he became chair here. But this is something different. This is something special because it's part of the Neuroscience Institute. It's the first time we've actually been able to bring together the clinical neuroscience and the basic science research in one event. And so that's a really very significant outcome. And you can see from this timeline, I don't have a pointer, but that there have been various steps along the way as we got to the point at which we can hold this kind of event. And you can see also along the way we had marvelous support from philanthropic organizations as well as from the university and ultimately from Premier Health Partners. And I think it's not so much these snapshot, these 2005 or 2007 or 2010 time points that are important. It's the line that went right through them. And there's actually a couple of people here in the audience I'd really like to thank. Diane Plyman is one, and Mark Shaker's around somewhere. And I think both Diane and Mark were present at the board meeting, the management board meeting, almost 4 years ago. So it's not a date that's marked on this timeline, but it was a very significant date where Tim and I met with the management and presented, in a sense, our vision and our thoughts and plans for how we could jointly partner up and capitalize on all the good things going on both on campus and in the hospital setting. And it was from that discussion that we got together and developed the agreements to invest resources to actually create the institute. The institute was then recognized by the governor and the then chancellor of the Board of Regents as a University System of Ohio Center of Excellence, and made a terrific event marking that designation about 2.5 years ago now. Time flies when you're having fun. And you can see that the arrow continues to go upwards. We're not yet done. We're not finished with the task in hand. We have a lot of other plans going forward that Tim will actually talk about. You can see that we've always had a target to, particularly these last few years, to develop real excellence in translational research. And you can see these arrows actually converge. And I'm happy to tell you, and Tim I think will also mention a little bit more, that we're right now in the design development phase for the construction of the new Neuroscience Engineering Collaboration Building, which will, yet again, I think, it's a wonderful achievement. It's an incredible resource, a great facility for all of us to work together in, but it's not necessarily the end of the line. We hope the arrows continue beyond the Neuroscience Engineering Collaboration Building. So as I said, we've had great support over the years, with terrific support from Dean Howard Part from the Boonshoff School of Medicine, and from others like Margaret Dunn and John Bale, and many at the hospital system, Molly Hall in particular, who was instrumental right from the beginning in working with us to create the Neuroscience Institute. We hope that support is going to continue, and we do have a new dean that we'll be looking to for that kind of support. The university has clearly designated neuroscience as one of its primary strategic goals and regions of emphasis. That's evident in its investment in the new building, for example. But you know, there's a lot more work to be done, and I'm pleased that we do have a new dean who will be part of that effort going forward. And I'm pleased also to introduce Dr. Bowman, to also say a few remarks today. March has been here now, what, 5 weeks? And obviously getting to grips with all the activities that are going on. So I just hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. It should be very stimulating, hopefully very interactive. Thank you for coming. And March, if you've got a few words.
Thank you very much. I think Bob's going to leave before too long. Is that correct? You have to leave?
They have to.
So we'll excuse him if he does, but thank you for the introduction and for the background. And this is the kind of thing deans live for, right? Is to see a great new program take off so well and so much happening. And it's actually my first major event at which I'm getting to present, so that's good too. I've had lots of meetings and I've met a good proportion of who's in this room, but many I haven't. But it is an exciting time to be here, and it is this kind of thing that I saw in Wright State that was so exciting and attracted me here. It's the spirit of collaboration and partnership and can-do and let's figure it out and keep going. And if, in a minute, I'm going to give you the list of some of the kinds of things that have been done, and the list is quite long. I was told 7 minutes, but you can see my list of bullets. I usually speak faster than Bob, so I'll probably keep doing that to make sure you get to hear all about it. But the partnership between Wright State, which is Dateson's region's strongest biomedical research institute, and the clinical resources of the region's leading hospital system, Ph.D. Premier Health Partners, will speed the translation of research discoveries. And this is exactly in one of the main areas that we can do that and need to do that, because it'll improve both diagnosis and treatment of a broad spectrum of neurologic disorders, from such things as strokes, degenerative diseases such as Parkinson's and Huntington's, and peripheral nerve damage from diabetes or trauma, which are some of the areas that we have specific expertise with. The university and hospital system, as you have heard, have committed significant resources to making this happen, because we want to enhance the neurologic care in our community and offer the latest treatments and using clinical trials to help us learn yet more about what we can do clinically. The Institute has already increased the number of neurologically related physicians here, neurologists, neurosurgeons, and will provide new opportunities for clinical trials so that patients can get the latest as well. When state and federal budgets are squeezed and market forces are exerting pressure to slow rising cost of health care, partnerships such as this become ever more important to ensuring our community has the best, latest clinical care that can be given. By leveraging Wright State's considerable NIH-funded research strengths, along with PHP's extensive clinical resources, the Institute can be a multiplier, generating opportunities for clinical care, clinical research, as well as enhancing our community and offering more job opportunities. The Boonshoff School of Medicine has a talented cadre of NIH-funded neuroscientists, some of whom you will hear from, along with excellent core resources and equipment for cutting-edge laboratory research. Premier Health Partners serves a large and diverse patient population in this area, many of you will know that from being local, who will benefit from these treatment opportunities. PHP's generous support has provided improved access while enhancing the ability of our researchers to attract federal grants, and which I think we're doing pretty well on, and I hear we have hopefully good news soon. And it is truly amazing to me to see how quickly things have developed. Under the capable leadership of Dr. Tim Cope, who you'll hear from in a minute, and we keep referencing, you'll notice, The Institute has completed a national search for the chair of neurology and begun plans for this $37 million neuroscience engineering collaboration. So that's a $37 million building there. Dr. Ken Gaines joined the Institute in May as co-director and chair of the neurology department after an extensive search to find the right person for us. He comes from the Ochsner Clinic and Foundation in New Orleans, where he was served as the chair of the Department of Neurology. And since his arrival, he's really been making this a first-class neurology department, including hiring 7 neurologists as faculty and under negotiations for others, developing clinical services at Miami Valley Hospital for vascular neurology, neurological intensive care unit, and general neurology, hiring a neurosurgeon, who you'll get to hear from too, and conducting negotiations with other neurosurgeons, developing an alliance with Dayton Children's for pediatric neurology and neurosurgery, initiating a memory disorders clinic with multi-specialty research and philanthropy focus, hiring a clerkship coordinator, that's for the medical student clerkship, and medical director, getting approval for creating a neurology residency and hiring a coordinator and medical director for that. That in and of itself is no mean feat. We've already started neurosciences clinical trials, and of course, working with Dr. Cope and colleagues from Ph.D. and Boonshoft, this symposium is underway. So as you can tell, this is an incredible amount of achievement in really a short space of time. We're going to let others say more specifically what those are, but overall I'm very happy to see you here and very appreciative of what that represents for our community. I'll introduce next the director of the Wright State and Premier Health Partners Neurosciences Institute. No, I don't know the acronym. And chair of our Department of Neuroscience, Cell Biology and Physiology, Dr. Tim Cope. Thank you.
Well, for those of us who've been working so long and hard for this day, we take great pleasure in seeing all of you here. Welcome you to our multicultural event. I mean, look at who we have in this room. We have hospital administrators, we have students and postdocs, we have new faculty, basic sciences, we have clinical neuroscientists, we've got clinicians, we've got all kinds of people here to join in and get going with this institute. So this is truly a happy time for all of us. So let me move on. I have to apologize to Robert. Robert, this arrow was here when I gave you the slide. And it disappears. So what is the chief goal, one of the main goals of this institute, is to translate basic science into clinical practice. By clinical practice, of course, what I mean is not only clinical treatment, but also clinical diagnosis. So how can we move information from the basic science laboratory into having meaningful roles in clinical practice? So what we've decided to do in order to achieve this is to assemble a critical mass of clinical and basic scientists in order to drive translational research and discovery. And we think we know how to do this. We've got a unique strategy for doing this. We're going to go out and get clinician neuroscientists who are targeted to the specific strengths that we have in basic sciences here, and make sure that we get people that are interested enough and interdigitate well enough to be able to work closely with us. We want to work shoulder to shoulder with these people, and we're going to go out and find the people who have shared interests so we can make this happen. So some of the areas that we have an interest in, and this is an incomplete list, but these are the ways in which we hope to advance healthcare solutions for a variety of conditions that include the following. One of them is neurodegenerative disorders. You see Adam Deerdorf is out there, and Adam collected these data. These here you can see a spinal cord section, and the prominent green cell that's up front there is a degenerated motor neuron. We can see here, we can study its morphology, we can study its protein expression, and we can also record from this cell and get the physiological, the electrophysiological behavior of the cell. So this is a particular strength of ours, and would work very well with any one of a number of clinical disorders as relates to neurodegenerative diseases. Now, what we're finding out more and more is that there are some real common features in the cell biology of neurodegeneration. So we think that what we're studying is going to have broad applications and connections with the clinical world. Another thing that we have particular interest in is movement disorders and movement. I pulled this off of the web just to show you here a moving human. You can see the muscles there in the lower extremities. The data that you see to, which side is it? Right here, the green traces. These are 3 traces that we collected in our laboratory. We're capable of recording from 16 different traces, 16 different muscles at the same time to characterize movement, perform kinematics, and try to get at the basis for movement disorders of, again, a wide variety of conditions. And then, just to be sure to mention some of these others, we have great strengths in stroke. We're building strengths in epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, and we also developmental disabilities. Our cognitive neuroscientists and psychology are working hard on these issues. Okay, so who are these new clinical neuroscientists? So we're looking for them as we speak. Mark Rich is the chair of the search committee, and together with Ken and I and a search committee that we put together, we're very excited to go out and find these people. These are people, 2 clinical neuroscientists who are accomplished researchers with records of scientific production and potential for funding. Certainly if we were to find someone who was more senior and funded, we'd be happy to welcome them here. But we're also looking at fellowships to see who might be available and to join us early in their careers. They're going to develop funded basic or clinical neuroscience research programs in collaboration with the basic scientists. And each of them, and here's the real plum as I understand from my clinical friends, the real plum is they're going to get 75% release time to be able to establish their laboratories, write the grants, and get their studies going. So, I guess you can see the bottom line plug there. We have the jobs posted, and if any of you have any special connections, we'd be glad to hear from you. Okay, so we've heard mention of the Neuroscience Engineering Collaboration Building. And I'm happy to report to you that this is the building that's going to house the engineers and the neuroscientists and the clinicians that we hope to work with together in the Institute. The building is a $37 million building. It's 90,000 square feet. It's shared by engineering and by neuroscience. The laboratories, we have laboratories there and shared core facilities. So the notion of this building is that it's a thematic building. It is the place where integrated collaborative work is going to take place. We're very serious about this. We have a steering committee that will oversee the occupancy and the progress of this building to be sure that it's being utilized for integrated collaborative work on targeted areas. So we think it's going to transform new discoveries into breakthroughs in patient care. That's certainly one of our main goals. And the groundbreaking of this new building will be in March of 2013, with expected occupancy in the middle of 2015. Okay, and with that then, I want to say that one of the, that's a pretty good picture. That surprises you, we were able to pull this. I like the big smile. So one of the first pieces of having all of this come together was for us to identify a chair of neurology and co-director of the Institute. You've already heard a little bit about Dr. Gaines. He was most recently the chair of neurology at Ochsner Clinic and Foundation. His clinical research interests are improved health care for delivery delivery for stroke with a subspecialty in vascular neurology and brain hemorrhage in particular, I think. Board certified in neurology and vascular neurology and fellow of the American Academy of Neurology and of the AEEG Society. So with that then, I'd like to welcome you up to the podium and tell you how happy we are that you're here.
Thanks so much, Tim. This is an interesting day for everybody, and I guess you know, what I wanted to do with this was kind of give a little background on why neuroscience. Tim and I, as co-directors of this new institute, this symposium today, what's really the concept behind why we're trying to do these things? Well, why is it that we want to take the translational piece from basic science and move it into the clinical? So, as a clinician, I'm going to give you sort of the clinician's perspective on some of these things, and it's also going to be a personal perspective, because I'm really going to talk about sort of some of the trajectory and hopefully things I've learned over the years. So, why neuroscience might be, you know, one question, and I guess we were really beginning the growth of neuroscience with the decade of the brain, which many of you will remember occurred a number of years ago. But it's really the disease burden that's associated with neurological diseases. And let me go through just some examples of that so that you sort of get a sense for this. So, epilepsy. Pretty amazing, 10% of the population will have a seizure in their lifetime, and 2.5 million people with epilepsy. And what the Institute of Medicine has said is that we're really not doing a great job with these patients. Many of them don't get the treatment that they should. So developing new treatments and improving our ability to deliver those therapies. Something that's obviously very close to me, stroke. 1 in 6 people worldwide will have a stroke in their lifetime, leading cause of adult disability. And this is probably the quintessential time-sensitive illness, stroke. The importance of early evaluation and treatment of the stroke patients, and more importantly, developing new therapies for stroke, because we clearly have a long way to go in developing this. So this is the time sensitivity. Kind of amazing if you've never seen these numbers, how quickly the process of stroke evolves in the brain. How quickly brain cells are lost, how quickly myelinated pathways and synapses are lost, and what it does to the aging process. So, a very important disease, clearly worthy of more basic research and clinical research. Alzheimer's disease, sort of one of the looming epidemics for this country, right? 5 million persons with Alzheimer's, almost 250,000 in Ohio. Huge caregiver issues associated with this, and a huge cost. I think the more frightening thing is the increase. That Alzheimer's disease likely to increase something around 60% over the next few years. At the same time, we're having some decline in heart disease and decline in some of the communicable diseases like HIV. So clearly putting Alzheimer's disease in focus for us. Head injury, leading cause of young folks with illnesses in the neurological realm. And I was kind of surprised to find one day when I was looking through the internet that people actually measure brain health. I didn't realize anybody was doing that, that there's an organization that actually measures brain health, looks at it for every state in the union, have a whole series of fairly objective criteria. And fortunately for Ohio, we're in the top third, but we're not in the top 10. And so clearly some opportunities for the state of Ohio. Spine disease, a major problem in terms of disability, time lost from work, and use of medical resources. Oncologic disease in the brain, glioblastoma, the malignant disease of the brain. Some improvement over the last few years, but it's measured in months in terms of improved survival. And more frightening again is the fact that the incidence seems to be going up of this disease over time. So this is the personal trajectory with this. This starts back when Ken Gaines was first starting into medicine, into medical school and residency. See some medical students out here. And I went every 10 years approximately and added the number of new medications and new surgical treatments for neurological diseases. And this exponential increase is what I found. And sort of an amazing explosion of new neurologic opportunities to treat. And so I think this is why neuroscience is an exciting area for people like myself, for Bob McDonald, who's going to be one of our speakers, and for many of the people in this room. Spent some time in New Orleans, and this is another piece of the kind of new things, the new pieces in neuroscience is our ability to image, and not just image structure, but to image function. And so this is an MRI of someone improvising jazz, a functional MRI. So I think our plans here are to really try to develop innovative programs in all the areas that you've heard about. Teaching for medical students and residents, community involvement, clinical care, and research. And I think it's the key that we tie all these things together, and that we take our programs that are collaborative between neurology and neurosurgery, our programs with our basic scientist colleagues, and bring all these things together into this Neuroscience Institute. So I think we have compelling reasons to think that neuroscience is important, and I think we have built a structure that will hopefully let us go forward as we work together to solve some of these problems.